بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين. Dear brothers and sisters, dear viewers of قناة القرآن الكريم, we are going to tackle another issue related with the lessons and examples, lessons delivered by personage or personalities in the Quran, and particularly by the prophets. Today, me and Professor Belghith Mohammed have chosen the marvelous story of Yusuf in the Quran, Yusuf as-Siddiq, the truthful, and his ordeal, the hardship, on all the sequences of his life, and the story is unveiled in the Quran, in the Surah Yusuf, which contains 111 verses, and it has a lot of important teachings. Before asking Professor Belghith, I would quote the saying by the late Yusuf Ali, who is the best translation in the Quran in English, of the Quran in English, and he is summarizing this by mentioning a point. He said, biblical story is like a folk tale, because the Bible is also mentioning the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, but it is more leaning on the narrative of this is what he said, a folk tale. It is a family saga. We know that Joseph alayhi salam is the son of Jacob, who is the son of Isaac, who is the son of Abraham. Then he's mentioning his 11 sons, along with Yusuf alayhi salam. But in the Quran, but in the Bible, there is no mention of the morality, the high standard of morality, which we can distinguish from the story of Joseph alayhi salam. But the Quranic story, I quote him again, is less a narrative than a highly spiritual sermon. يعني درس أو عبرة روحية عالية. On allegory, the seeming contradictions of life, يعني يركز على التناقضات في الحياة. The enduring nature of virtue, البقاء للفضيلة وراء كل المحن. In a world full of change, and the marvelous working of Allah, the eternal purpose. يعني قضاء الله وإرادة الله نافذة as unfolded to us on the wide canvas of history. في ساحة التاريخ العظيمة, will of Allah is prevailing. Professor Belghith.
Yes. First of all, as we know that we need to remind our audience, as we have mentioned in the previous session, that storytelling is one of the means of education. Yeah. And this surah, which contains the story of the prophet Joseph, peace be upon him, was revealed in Mecca, when the Prophet Muhammad and his companions were in Mecca, to motivate them and to encourage them to stay steadfast and to be strong and highly motivated in following the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. That's why it has been revealed in Mecca and contains the story of Yusuf as an example,
That's it.
as a model, as we are going maybe to detail more on the content of this chapter, this surah. So each story in the Holy Quran is different. The narration is different from other books and writings and scriptures.
That's it.
It contains an introduction, madkhal, an introduction, as here in the Surah of Yusuf. نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن. We narrate to you the best of the stories as we have revealed to you this Quran, which you were before that ignorant about this content. And each surah contains also lessons, educational lessons.
That's it.
Spiritual teachings, and formation, how to prepare a successful Muslims and servants of Allah Ta'ala, as maybe we are going to elaborate more, inshallah.
Inshallah. I just would add something. It is the fact that a lot of people have mentioned the aesthetic, yani capture of the Quranic of the Quran of Surah Yusuf. That is, there is a book here. It is التذوق الجمالي in the Quran, because it's a beautiful. It has multi-purpose, as you said, educational. It is calling to the rationale, but it is also calling to the sentiments, to the marveling imagination of man by speaking to him with sentiments. And the other thing is that in the Quran, why there is a unity of this surah, which is unfolding in 111 verses, because it starts from a point which is the dream of Yusuf alayhi salam. He told to his father at the beginning of the surah, after saying at the beginning of the surah, and this marvelous ru'ya, vision, dream, unfolded at the end of the whole surah. Of the whole surah, and this is why the unity of the surah. I would mention also that there is another book which has been written by Ismail Bouchiche, an Algerian writer, who said the book is here. He made what we are calling a structured reading, قراءة هيكلية لسورة يوسف, and he has, rahimahullah, I knew him personally, he died 20 years ago. He was presenting religious talks in the Algerian radio 2 decades ago, rahimahullah. Then he's speaking about this, and he's mentioning, after the introduction, there are 2 great parties in this surah. The 2 great parties the first one is starting with this dream, then the different sequences related with this dream, the jealousy of his brothers, because it starts with this jealousy of the brothers. And there are some readings about Surah Yusuf, we are saying that all the psychological sentiments, feelings are particularly good and bad, particularly bad feelings are in the Surah Yusuf. Jealousy, envy, revenge, the seduction, lust, and trying to one boss himself, and so forth. And and he said that the first part starts with the story of this dream, then the jealousy of his brothers, and the plot they made to get rid of him, and they put him in the well. Then he was freed, or he was taken by the caravan who sold him as a slave. And then fourth, when he went to the wazir, or to al-aziz, the dignitary man in the governor of in Egypt. And then after that, the second part is when he became the wazir, with all the sequences. And then there is a conclusion. You see, then we can start maybe with a dream, on the importance of the dream of Yusuf alayhi salam when he was a teenager or even a boy.
Yeah. Our scholars gave a very big interest and importance to this surah, this chapter.
That's it.
The commentators and the interpretation books. I have seen Dr. Ratib al-Napulsi. May Allah strengthen him and give him a long life, commenting about this chapter of Surah Yusuf in his tafsir, his book in Quran exegesis. And one of our scholars has deducted from this surah more than 1,000 lessons. More than 1,000 lessons, more. Sayyid commented in his tafsir, in the shade of the Quran, very beautiful comments, and interesting comments. So our scholars I have seen a book called a seminar on the surah of Yusuf, the chapter of Yusuf, seminar, Mu'tamar Surat Yusuf, in 3 volumes. There are scholars who wrote about this chapter of Surah Yusuf in different specialities, depending on their specialities.
That's it.
There are psychological studies.
That's it.
As the surah mentions. There are sociological studies, and there are educational studies also and research about this surah. And there is also, I have seen an economic studies, as we are going to see in the second part maybe of this program.
Yes.
The economic system and procedures to save people from crisis. So there is an economic studies with statistics and very, very, very thick study and research. Unfortunately, I don't remember the writer. So our scholars gave a very important, very big importance to this chapter, since it is very rich in showing the rules that govern the human life.
That's it.
What we call God willing. Wallahu ghalibun ala amrih. The rules, السنن. Wallahu ghalibun ala amrih walakin akthar an-nas la ya'lamun. The surah begins with Yusuf's childhood, because when he has seen this dream, he didn't reach 17, as many of the scholars mentioned. But what attracts the reader's attention is that there are 4 or 3 dreams. And their interpretation. The surah is based on 3 dreams, I think, 3 or 4. The Prophet Yusuf was given by the Almighty Allah the skill of interpreting dreams and visions. So that's why it started by the dream of the Prophet Yusuf. Then in the middle we will see the dream of his two friends in the prison.
That's it.
Then we will see the dream of the king of Egypt. وقال الملك إني أرى 7 بقرات سمان يأكلهن 7 عجاف وسبع سنبلات خضر وأخرى يابسات. The dream of the king of Egypt. And the 3 dreams were behind the events the Prophet Yusuf faced in his life. Their interpretation came later on, right? The beginning was during the childhood, and when he was a child, his brothers felt jealous against him. Why? He was the preferred one in the sight of their father, but actually he was maybe the youngest. The youngest one was Benjamin. So he was 10 years old at that time, 11 years old, as some scholars mention. But they didn't accept it. But the Holy Quran here wants to tell us that jealousy among family members can exist.
That's it.
Can exist, right? And we have to be wise how to be just between our children, how to behave as parents, and how also to behave with our sons and children, to educate them in the right way. Even though jealousy can exist, can occur also, we will see how they used a way to take with them their brother and to put him in a difficult situation when they wanted to throw him in the well.
I just like to mention the verse in the Quran which is related with the dream. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذ قال يوسف لأبيه يا أبت إني رأيت 11 كوكبا والقمر والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين. Behold, Joseph said to his father, O my father, I did see in a dream 11 stars on the sun, on the moon. I saw them prostrate themselves to me. The father said, My dear little son, relate not this vision to your brothers, lest they concoct a plot against it. He was feeling that they would be jealous.
Yes.
For Satan is to man an avowed enemy. This, and he said,
because they were from different mothers.
From different mothers. Him and Benjamin were from another mother.
Yeah.
And they said they used a very arrogant language against their father. Our father is في ضلال مبين.
Why you don't trust us?
Well, so forth. Then at this time they started plotting to get rid of him. And they said that what is the best way? They wanted even to kill him in order to have what they say in the Quran, the face of Jacob, of their father, exclusively to them, and not to Jesus, to Yusuf alayhi salam. Then the first thing, well, there is a lot of verses. We just summarize the first sequence or the second sequence is that they reached to a point. The best thing, the most plot that would be acceptable, to throw him into a well where caravan go from north to south or to go to Egypt. On one of the caravan side or caravan man, would the guide would take him from this and send him away. Then look at this, we say the sorrow of the father, on the sorrow of Joseph alayhi salam. He was taken, going, because with the trick they say, let him go we take him to play in the, يعني as a young man.
يرتع ويلعب.
ويرتع ويلعب. And they made.
And here some scholars, as Imam al-Nawawi,
yeah,
in this verse, just in this word, أرسله معنا غدا يرتع ويلعب وإنا له لناصحون or لحافظون. Here some scholars said it is normal, because the Quran doesn't mention a word just but it contains many wisdoms and many meanings. He said it is normal that children play.
That's it.
يرتع ويلعب. يلعب, send him with us to play, right? And to walk away in the Sahara. So, but here some scholars deducted from this verse why Al-Quran mentions يلعب, to play. It is to teach us that you should leave your children playing, because it helps us in a normal growing, in psychological growing.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they lied to their father,
Yeah.
and they said that the wolf devoured it, ate him.
Yes.
That he was, they were distracted and they ate him, and something like that. Then he didn't believe them, but the story continues, because the caravan came, guides were astonished to find a child in the well, في البئر, يعني في البئر. يعني they heightened it up, they lifted him up, and they went to the souq, to the market of slaves.
Yes.
And the Quran is saying that they sold him a vile price. شروه بثمن بخس دراهم معدودة وكانوا فيه من الزاهدين. And the Quran is mentioning. Then, as he had moral qualities, we have to say that one of the maybe tribulation of the Yusuf alayhi salam is considered by the tradition and as the most beautiful man upon earth, the most beautiful. Then there were rivalry to buy him as a slave. And it was one of the dignitaries, as you said, the governor of one of the areas in Egypt, who took him, but he took him not as a slave. He well educated him, he well treated him, nearly as a son. Then he has a sentiment of recognition or acknowledgement of this deal. But as the second part is when he became an adolescent and a man, and Allah Ta'ala gave him hikmah, but also a very beautiful body.
He was handsome
person. Then after that, the wife of the governor was attracted by him. She was attracted by his beauty, and he showed slowly her sentiments towards him, and she came to an act which is reproved by religion and by law and by nature and she attracted him and she seduced him and tried to make with him intimate relations, and she knocked the door of her house and locked, and she said to him, she declared her let's say her sentiments, her desire, lust to him, and he retracted. Although he retracted, and he said three things. He said to her, he's my master, I can't betray, and you shouldn't betray your husband.
Yes.
And he has done good things. And that for me, and also we have to repay good for good. And at that time, he tried to flee from her, to escape from this trick. He was in this, and he told her he flew. And when he flew and escaped, she tore her tunic, her skirt, or something like that. His skirt, yes. And at that time, it happens that her husband entered the house and saw the scene of which is
surprising.
Yeah. Then in the few minutes left, we continue. Yes.
Yes. Maybe here we see how was the attitude of the Prophet Yusuf as a young man, as a human being. As a human being, he was he refused to this attempt, rejected her desire, and here as a young man, it is a great lesson for our youngsters, how to face and how to overcome such challenges in a society where everything attracts them.
That's it. Yeah.
To disobey Allah and to commit sins, especially adultery, which is prohibited in all religions of Allah.
No.
So that's why he rejected this, and as a young man with a normal desire as a human being, because some people say maybe he was a prophet, but actually he was a human being.
Professor Belghith, we have to stop and continue this wonderful story next time, inshallah. We hope our viewers have enjoyed it, and we will continue next time, next episode, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.